Police in Oregon are desperately trying to prevent a mass suicide. They've arrested a man who they say invited people to kill themselves along with him on Valentine's Day. So what can police do to make sure that they find all of his followers before it's too late? We welcome back clinical psychologist Dr. Ava Cadell to the docket, and joining us now is computer crime analyst Morgan Wright. Welcome, both of you.
Thanks.
Morgan, let's first things first. What in the world are police doing at this exact moment to contact all of those people? I mean, we're talking maybe 32 people who may have signed on to this.
Well, I don't claim to know exactly what they're doing right now, but in a typical investigation, I mean, this is something you take extremely seriously. So they're running down, they've already subpoenaed Yahoo, got their chat room logs, are attempting to identify the internet protocol addresses so they can trace those back to the service providers, find out who the account belongs to, and then go out and start making contact with these people. I mean, this is an emergency situation, and I'm sure that there's many agencies tied into finding out where these people are. They could be spread out literally all over the world, not just in Oregon, but as you saw, some of the folks were in Canada. So right now, the sense of urgency in law enforcement, I'm sure right now, is attempting to identify the people and then getting those agencies where these people live out to check on them and make sure that there's some type of intervention going on.
Yeah, you know, Doctor, Mr. Wright just identified this as an emergency situation, which brings me to the question. I'm sure there are lots of people who goof around like this on the internet and for popularity's sake or whatever, who may or may not be serious. How do you determine whether or not this is a real threat or not?
Well, I think you have to take it seriously. I mean, somebody like this is undoubtedly mentally ill, and he's probably an antisocial person looking for significance, and he wants to control people. And what better control than to get a whole bunch of people to do away with themselves? Of course, you don't know if he's going to do away with himself, but I think this has to be taken very, very seriously, and you know, this man has to be stopped so that it doesn't give other unstable people the same kind of idea.
Mr. Wright, is there a typical profile of a person who may try to commit this kind of crime?
Well, that's hard to say. I mean, I used to do a lot of work with interview and interrogation behavior analysis, and this guy right now is clammed up, so he's not talking to law enforcement. But, you know, the thing I'm concerned about is that this has some parallels in a new dimension. But if you go back and think what Jim Jones did back in the late 70s, where he got over 900 people to drink the Kool-Aid, this gentleman now has been able to use technology to reach out and at least get 32 people to join him in a pact. Now, only one person has to be serious about it. He may or may not have been, but this is definitely somebody who is attempting to exert some type of control, trying to get other people to do maybe his bidding, but sometimes it's a power play, it's an ego thing. This guy could be doing it just for the simple fact is he wanted to see if he had that kind of power, and the internet has allowed him to extend his reach into places and talk to people he never could have otherwise.
Yeah, Dr. Cadell, one thing that we learned is that one of the reasons why he wanted to do it on Valentine's Day is because he didn't have a girlfriend. I guess he was feeling sorry for himself. But let's talk about the potential other 32 people who were at least attracted enough to this proposal to be interested, and even one woman was going to bring her children into this whole thing. What kind of a person is searching the internet for suicide, you know, sites and would join something like this?
Well, these are people who are in victim mode. They're all feeling sorry for themselves, and they think that the world owes them, and they're not prepared to make changes, positive changes in their life. They want to punish people that they know, and you know, this is how they think they should do it, by showing everybody that if they do away with themselves, you know, it'll be a better place.
And Mr. Wright, tell me about how in the world do you prevent this? I mean, the internet is so huge. It's actually kind of a surprise that we haven't heard of a big story like this, you know, since, I guess, the Heaven's Gate happening. I mean, on the internet.
Right. Well, you know, it kind of reminds me of this cartoon that showed up in the New Yorker. Not that this is funny, but I mean, it shows you, it's got the two dogs on there, and the guy says, you can't do that, you're a dog, and the other dog says, but on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog. These guys do not have, the other people on the other end have no idea who this guy is, and they are reaching out to find some type of legitimacy, to legitimize some types of thoughts they're doing. And it's difficult to prevent. The way you prevent it is that somebody in the family has to recognize the warning signals. If it's children, if it's adults, you know, the internet is just something that's enabled it, but those warning signs were there way before somebody joined this internet chat room and did that. So it goes back to just plain old simple basics about people recognizing changes in behavior, looking at the types of things people are doing. And normally, you know, my experience is people who are very serious about suicide, you know, are people who go out and look for excuses to have somebody intervene aren't serious. It's the people who don't tell you what they're going to do that follow through with it that tend to be the very committed ones that actually do end up taking their lives.
All right, Morgan Wright and Dr. Ava Cadell, we appreciate your input. Thank you both.